Step inside the Hyundai Santa Fe Hybrid and you'll be one of two things: impressed or overwhelmed, because there are a lot of features on here, both things you can see right away and some under the hood. From making city driving convenient to even being equipped to go on those roads less traveled, the Santa Fe Hybrid has a lot to offer, and we're checking out some of those today. The Santa Fe nameplate has been a well-loved option in Hyundai's lineup, but this is the first time it's getting a hybrid powertrain. No surprises there, as it's one of many vehicles joining in on the electrification movement. But what does this mean for its performance, efficiency, and everyday usability? Well, let's break it all down. At the heart of the Santa Fe Hybrid is a 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine paired with an electric motor. Together, they deliver a respectable amount of horsepower and torque for this kind of vehicle. Like many others, Hyundai has developed its own set of driving technology to make life on the road just a little bit easier. On the Santa Fe, we have Hyundai's e-motion drive hybrid system. It offers e-dynamic drive, which provides you quicker responses to both acceleration and torque. It also offers e-comfort drive, which is responsible for reducing those jolts and shakes to make the overall ride and drive more comfortable. There's also e-handling, which improves cornering responsiveness and stability. Finally, there's EEHA, which provides proactive intervention during times of potential accidents. Another key feature of the Santa Fe Hybrid, and something we've been seeing more of, is smart regenerative braking. This takes away the thinking when it comes to recharging your batteries, meaning you don't have to switch between modes. The Santa Fe can intelligently switch for you, giving you the most efficient regeneration possible, which in turn gives you more range. Now, unlike some hybrids who greatly prioritize efficiency, the Santa Fe Hybrid does want you to have a more dynamic experience, especially with the all-wheel drive system. You've got multi-terrain drive modes including snow, mud, and sand, electronic all-wheel drive distribution, hill descent control, and a terrain-responsive throttle mapping. We'll talk about how these affect performance in just a little bit. First, let's head inside. Like I mentioned earlier, the Santa Fe Hybrid offers you an overwhelming amount of controls, or at least that's how it looks. We have two 12.3-inch displays here, one instrument cluster and the other for your infotainment. The screens are pretty matte, so glare won't be too much of an issue for the most part. This is good because you do get a lot of functionality with displays. If you've seen our recent videos, this is the part where we talk a little bit about what you'll find on the center dash, because there is a lot to talk about here, and just so you know, kind of understand how the layout is as a driver, as a passenger, and it's kind of fun to see, at least for me. So let me walk you through some of the things that you'll find here on the Santa Fe Hybrid. Like I said in the intro, there is kind of an overwhelming amount of information. At first glance, there is a lot of things to press, things to fiddle with, and that's what I'm here for. I am going to guide you through some of them and tell you things I like and don't like as well. Starting with the top buttons over here. So these are your basic navigation buttons. You will find this on most, if not all, of the modern vehicles. So you have a home button, which does take you home. If you are on another display or another screen, that is the button to press to get you back to the start. And then you have your map, which is obviously an easy access to the Android Auto or the Apple CarPlay map. If you are a connected, search if you want to search on things that are within the settings, even your contacts actually. This is basically a search for the entire vehicle, and the keyboard will pop up if you are parked, and a voice command, or actually I think it is disabled. I never pushed it while I was on the road, but I would assume this would be disabled because you do use the keyboard, and that's not safe when you're on the roads. Basically, if you are looking for something, that search button is there for searching. Next up here is the media button, which is pretty self-explanatory. It is where you find your source of media, whether it's the radio, connected phone, Bluetooth, and even if you want sounds of nature, because this is a hybrid, sometimes it is too quiet, and if you just want nature sounds, you can access it from here if you want. Never used it, honestly. I'm a music gal, I don't need the nature sound. So apart from that, I'm not gonna go through this is your favorites button. You can set that up on your own. Of course, since this isn't my vehicle, that is set up to nothing. Seek and track are for your same controls as on the steering wheel if you want to move forward, move back. And then for setup, if you press this button, you will be taken to the settings page. Think about your cell phone. This is the settings page where you can play with the lights, the sound, equalizer, device connectivity, how the screen is layouted, and things like that, the brightness of the display. It's all here. Basically, it is the button you'll want to press if you want to tinker something with the vehicle and you don't want to go through all the menus and all the settings by swiping through the display here. That is where you need to go, and it's all pretty much there. So let's move on to the more interesting part of the center console, which is the air conditioning controls right here. They are very prominent and one of the first things you will notice when you step inside this vehicle. At least that's what I noticed. So first up, you have these two dials here, which are for your temperature, obviously. And I actually really love the placement of these dials. They're very ergonomic, very well placed for the driver and even for the passenger. Very easy to reach and adjust. But one thing I don't like is the fan speed button, which are these touch buttons right here. Now, in my head, I guess, yes, maybe eventually you will get used to them if you plan on buying this vehicle for yourself. You will get used to them, much like how you would mindlessly tap on maybe somewhere on your smartphone knowing where these things are. So if you keep on driving this, you will be able, I hope you will be able to press on or adjust the fan speed without looking at it, because in all honesty, it is kind of a safety hazard, because if I am driving like this and maybe my passengers want, or even I want a stronger fan speed, right? I cannot feel it. I still really prefer I don't mind touch controls if they are well placed, but these ones are not so well placed in the sense that my eyes will really not just look away from where I'm from looking in front of me, but even searching for where the buttons are, which takes some focus away from my driving. Again, not good. I would only adjust it if I was in probably stopped or in standstill or in traffic or something like that. But I guess, like I said, it's probably something you can get used to, or maybe if you are planning on just having this as someone to drive you around that kind of vehicle because it is built for that, then that's not really a problem for you, is it? All right, so moving on, next to the fan speed, you do have your vent controls on where you want the air to be coming out. And then, oh wait, before I move on there, I forgot to mention that there is a driver only button here, and if you press it, you will have controls for just the driver's side, meaning you will be turning off that dual climate, and the driver will be in charge of the temperature of the air conditioning basically. And then right below it is if you want to turn off the air conditioning. I am not going to do that, so let's bring that back up just so we have the two lights right there. All right, so let's move on. So the rest of these are pretty basic. This is your AC on off, your circulation, your fan. Now right above here you have a button that says front and rear, so it is pretty easy to understand. For the front, you are controlling the front air conditioning controls, and then when you press on the rear, you do have just the fan speed for the rear passengers, but they also have a knob in the back that they can adjust themselves if they want to, and that will. Moving on, there are two identical symbols here, and that is for the seat heating. Now these are for the driver and the passenger, and the rear passengers also have heaters, but they have their own controls there in the back, or you could go inside the main controls of the dashboard here. I'll go to that in a little bit. But yeah, for your seat heating, if you want to keep your butt warm, I like this on. That's basically it. It's actually not as complicated as it looks, but it's just kind of confusing to look at, especially for me. I'm kind of particular about layout and UI and stuff like that, so this for me can be improved for safety. It's not even about aesthetic, it's really for safety, because aesthetically it does look good, it does look impressive, but the safety aspect of it, kind of iffy on that part. All right, so moving on to these buttons down here, they're not very hard to understand. Auto hold, if you want to activate auto hold, which is very useful in Metro Manila traffic always. Now if you want to switch out from driving in the city to driving on, let's say, snow, mud, or sand, then again, this is the way to go. And here you have the downhill brake control. Then you also have your parking cameras, which will trigger the 360 cameras up on the main display, and of course your parking assist if you need it or not. We're almost done with this section of the console, just a little strip here. These aren't buttons of any kind, they don't do anything, but they indicate if your phone is charging. Say I put in my phone here, and and it will indicate here that the phone is charging. Same over here. Now I couldn't find how many watts the charger of this is, so if you do know, let me know, because I am curious and I couldn't find anything on it and I forgot to ask. So let me know if you know how much wattage these wireless chargers are. I'm guessing 5 to 10, something like that. But if you don't have a wireless charging phone, because that is still a reality for a lot of people, you do have these 2 USB-C ports. We don't have USB type A ports anywhere up front here or even in the back even. Yes, these are all USB-C type ports. I guess I don't need to explain that these charge, but for this one USB-C port, you will see that there is a button here that will toggle between just charging or if you want to connect your phone to the vehicle via wired Apple Android or wired Apple CarPlay. That is still possible. You just have to make sure that it's toggled to the data cable mode. I guess that's a data cable mode. I don't know what it's officially called, but that's what I'm gonna call it, data cable mode and charging mode. So finally, let's just move this out of the way so it's not in the way. So finally, we have this UVC light button here. For all of us that has been through the pandemic, we know the importance of keeping our devices clean. But this UVC button is actually not for anything that you can see visibly here, because you cannot be exposed to UVC for too long. Your skin that's bad for your skin and stuff, and your eyes and stuff like that. I'm sure you know. So when you do push this on, this is for this little shelf, I guess it's a shelf or it's a pocket on the passenger side. Once you press the button, so you can put your phone in there, you press that UVC button and then let it clean for a good what is the right time, 15 minutes for cleaning, for like proper UVC cleaning. I don't know, let me know, but that's what that's for, in case you were wondering. So now we're gonna move on to the main dash, because that's another thing that's worth talking about. But just one last thing I wanted to mention about this air conditioning control section is that it is very, very much a fingerprint magnet, to the point that it can look gross if a lot of people have been touching it, or if you've been touching it for a while and with no effort to clean it. It can look really disgusting with all the fingerprint marks and the oil marks. So it's something that you will have to maintain if you want to keep your car looking nice, which I will do after I shoot this, because I already want to wipe it right away. Okay, let's move on to that. I'm going to start by pressing the setup button that I showed you guys before and making sure the display is very bright, so I can, but you can have it adjusted brightly, adjusted automatically if you want to, but let's put it up at full brightness so you guys have a better view. Alright, so this is the home screen. Nothing is connected right now, nor if you're connected to Android Auto, it will show up there. Back to the home. I don't want to do that yet. Alright, so like I said in my earlier videos, a lot of dashboards these days are very much like a phone, meaning you can swipe left and right, down and up. Maybe not up for this one. So this one doesn't have an up, but this has left, right, and down. We'll go through a couple of things. So the first one is your media. I'm gonna go back to this in a little bit. This is where you will find your media. For example, if you're connected to Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, you can press on this to access your apps, your maps, your Spotify if you want to. Now over here is the hybrid button, which is a hybrid exclusive feature, obviously, because this is where you can monitor what's happening to the vehicle. If the engine is powering it, if the electric motor is powering it, you can monitor your fuel economy or the electric motor usage as well. Since I've been standing still for the last couple of hours, there is nothing on here. And oh, by the way, just so I can get it out of the way, this little thing is actually a media control. So if something is playing and you want to switch out right away, I really appreciate this. I'm a UI girl, so I really appreciate this. When you press it, you can go straight to the media, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the most used screens of most, if not all, of the people. So again, so now I'm back home by pressing the home button here, or pressing the home button, the physical home button that I showed you guys earlier. So phone is for your phone. Basically, I'm not going to go through that because that's my phone. I don't want to show you guys too much of that, right? Phone projection is, if again, it's basically Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, but if you do plug in your phone and it is CarPlay or Android Auto enabled, that will automatically connect. You don't even need to press that, so I don't see the need for that. I said earlier, you can adjust seat heating through the control panel that we saw a while ago, but you can also control it from here. Now these are more visual and more extensive in a sense that you can control not just the heating or the warming, seat warmer, but also the seat controls. If you want to tilt, there's relax mode, which will
push those to become relaxing so you can have your passengers rest. Again, this is a very passenger friendly vehicle. So again, more controls for the seats, not just for comfort but also for folding the seats in the back. If you do need more storage space, luggage space, you can do it from here, but there are also buttons in the back, so I appreciate that you can do that from here or all the way from the back if you're already there. Very convenient to have both of those options, especially for a vehicle like this. Now, next over is car wash mode, which is a safety feature. You can see here what it will activate or not activate. Basically, just read it. You can have it start and then stop it on your own. I think there is a timer. I don't want to do it because I don't want to, so I'm just not going to do that. And then you have your manual. If you need it, read the manual always. If you have a problem, the answers are there. And this is the setup button, which is the same screen that you will get if you press the physical setup button that I told you about earlier. Now let's quickly go through this setup screen, just a few things. So for the driver assistance section, you do have literally whatever driver assistance features you want to adjust. They're all here. Just tap driving safety. You will come up with the settings if you want. We realize that or at least our preference, that when you set it to standard, it's way too close and way too aggressive, so we've been setting it to late. Let me know if you feel the same way. But we also have forward cross traffic safety, forward side safety, a lot of those. And we also have my favorite, which is like the lead car departure alert, because I can be distracted at times, and that little beep is very helpful. So again, these are basically a lot of vehicle customization options, from your brake style, brake mode, smart regeneration, if you want to set it to auto. That is something I would like to turn on, especially if you are driving in the city. It just gives you much more range for your vehicle. Now, so again, a lot of customization options here, even your ambient lighting, if you want to change the color, the brightness. If you want to link it to the drive mode, for example, if you move up to sport, it'll turn red. If it's eco, I think it turns green automatically. But if you're like me, you want to keep it at a solid color, I will keep it at purple because I love purple. So many customization options, I swear. So for your door, you have the power tailgate if you want it to open fast or normal. Normal is too slow for me. I kept it on fast. Even the height, if it is too high for you, you can set it to certain levels because not everyone is that tall. This is a pretty big vehicle. Even a user height setting, which you can do with the button at the back. I had no need for that. I had it full open all the time. Then some convenience setting, wireless charging if you want to turn that off, mobile phone wireless, stuff. Now we're gonna head back to the main screen where you will see all of the things that we just talked about. Basically, if you want a visual menu, this is it. But if you are a reader, if you like reading, it is also all here. You don't need to go back here, but it is a very good at a glance information. It's all easily readable, which is important always when you're talking about displays. And I guess that's about it for the main display. So now that we're done with the vehicle settings, let's just go back, quickly glaze over everything else because there is too much. So sound, again, you can adjust it. There's so much customization options on this car that sometimes I don't even want to anymore unless it's my vehicle, but I only had this for a couple of days. But if you do end up getting this, you can personalize it to a very great extent, and I appreciate that. I appreciate anything that you can personalize to your liking. User profiles is if more than one person is driving this vehicle, you can set up different profiles that contains the settings or the parameters that you want. That includes the brake strength, the lights even, so stuff like that. Again, since this is a lend-out unit, I didn't bother with that. Now we have screen layout, which is another customization option. Again, if you want a classic or simple looking display over here up the top, linked it to the drive mode. You can even have a screensaver. I put none, but you can put a clock. But let's put in a split screen. You want a blue light filter for your eyes, but you shouldn't be looking at this too much anyway. But again, if at night, that might be useful. Then you have button controls. Again, that star button that I pointed out a while ago, this is where you set it. I'm not going to do that. Okay, so for the cluster heads-up display, we kind of took a look at the cluster already, but for the head-up display, you can adjust more of the settings here, including the height if it is within your viewing angle. And basically that. Nothing too extensive there.
Oh, and the Santa Fe Hybrid also supports over-the-air updates, so no need to head to the dealership for software upgrades. Now, the Santa Fe has always been and still is a people hauler, and a very comfortable one at that. As a premium passenger-focused vehicle, the driver and passengers enjoy power-adjustable, ventilated, heated seats. Second-row passengers will benefit from those plush captain's chairs, and getting out is also easier thanks to those easy access buttons that instantly tumble down the seats. Of course, we've got USB-C ports, very conveniently placed ones, might I add. There's also a whole lot of storage pockets, a wide panoramic sunroof. The center storage even opens up on both sides, so it's easier for both driver and passenger. And if you need more cargo space, the third row does fold flat, so you can put more stuff inside. As for how it looks on the outside, it is debatable. There are a few who don't like this modernized look, but we don't mind it at all. We've got these bold, very distinguishable H-shaped lights partnered to a massive front grille. This makes the Santa Fe kind of an aggressive but still kind of elegant looking 7-seater. It stands on 20-inch alloy wheels with squared off wheel arches to complete this modern boxy look. I personally don't gravitate towards large SUVs, but the Santa Fe Hybrid, despite its size, does feel surprisingly light and easy to maneuver. Even making U-turns with this big old vehicle wasn't too daunting. That being said, it is wide and you still need to stay aware of your surroundings, especially when navigating those tight city streets. Thankfully, there's a 360-degree camera system and blind spot monitoring to make maneuvering a bit easier. The bird's eye view camera in particular is a lifesaver in those narrow alleyways and parking spots. On the highway, the Santa Fe Hybrid offers a composed and quiet ride, with the electric motor assisting in low-speed situations to keep things smooth and fuel efficient. The suspension is tuned for comfort rather than sportiness, which means bumps and rough roads are handled very well. But don't expect a particularly dynamic driving experience. As a passenger, the Santa Fe Hybrid was able to deliver solid comfort, especially for passengers in the first and second rows. The third row, while still very usable, is best suited for kids or shorter trips. There is room for 3, but it is probably more comfortable with just 2 in the back. Thankfully, the cabin is filled with adjustable air vents, cup holders, USB ports, and so much more, which makes you feel that no passenger felt like an afterthought. The Hyundai Santa Fe Hybrid successfully blends tech, comfort, and efficiency into a well-rounded 7-seater SUV. Its hybrid system unexpectedly improves fuel economy but also enhances the driving refinement. It's then a compelling option for those who want a spacious SUV with modern features and modern safety. While it may not be the most thrilling thing to drive, it makes up for it with all that technology, premium comfort, and practical everyday versatility. For those looking for a family-friendly, everyday SUV that can handle city traffic and the occasional off-road adventure, the Santa Fe Hybrid is definitely worth considering. It's a tech-packed hybrid-powered upgrade to a beloved nameplate, and that alone makes it feel like an exciting step forward.